First things first, Aluna. How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm alright, thank you. How did the show go?
The show went really well. It was interesting for us because we've been playing in America and then playing in Europe, and people have been listening to different songs, so then we need to kind of arrange the show based on if people are hearing songs for the first time before or if they know them. So.
And especially now you're gearing up towards the second album. So is that difficult to balance what you will play and what you will keep a secret for the release?
Oh, well, we play new songs from the album, but they're songs that people have been able to access online, like I Remember and what's the other one? My Blood. So they're kind of relatively unknown, but we've also chosen them because they come across even if you don't know them, so it's fine.
When you start playing these songs for the first time, is that an anxious moment?
It can be, or it's just exciting. Depends. It depends. I think, when we first started playing, I remember it felt like people were going to get bored and go to the bar because it was very sort of romantic, slow song. But actually it becomes one of the high points in the set because people do want to feel, I guess.
Well, before we continue on the new record, I Remember, I'd like to go back to the beginning quickly. Do you remember the first album you ever bought?
The first album I ever bought, I probably didn't buy an album for a while, but I had my parents' music and stuff like that. So Michael Jackson was really my childhood kind of music.
Why Michael Jackson?
Why anything?
Fair enough, but what struck you then in Michael
what,
Jackson's
as like
music?
a child, a baby?
Well,
I think
maybe a little bit older.
I was 6, so.
Okay.
Okay, my 6-year-old brain must have thought it was really easy to dance to and very inspiring. I suppose it inspired you to be the best kind of adult. As you mimic adults as a child, you want to mimic the most fabulous ones. So.
Was that the point when you thought about going into music? Was that too early? Did you think about singing and?
No, I didn't ever think of singing as a job. I thought it was just something that I did because I had nothing. There wasn't a lot going on in my childhood, so I think there was something about singing and dancing that could create an entire world for you, and you didn't need anyone else to be there, and it kept you completely busy. I found playing with toys and stuff, like manufactured toys and things, was very limiting because the toy didn't give you anything back. It was just inanimate, and I think that's probably why I enjoyed singing and maybe performing.
The creative expression of it, in a sense, that kind of. So when did you actively start to pursue music? Then actively write thoughts down, start tinkering with instruments?
Well, I guess, at school they would get you to try and come up with a piece of music, and if you did like music lessons, but that felt as difficult to me as like coming up with an essay about your summer holiday or something. And I think it was really when I started doing musicals at school where I could see that even though I wasn't academically good at the theatre part, like Shakespeare and things like that, I couldn't read the scripts easily. I didn't understand Old English. But I could do the musicals, which had more to do with kind of conveying a message through a song. So I got really into that.
And if we fast forward then a little bit, you met George because he was remixing a song that you had made. What struck you about George as to want to make more music with him? How was that connection born, so to say?
It was really that we really enjoyed each other's company, and then made a song that surprised us both, like in one day. A song that like was really different from what we'd both been doing. It had a kind of almost pop song sensibility to it, but was very, very weird. And so yeah, it was like weird and rough and crazy, but also had something that held it together, and that was really special to us. And it was actually somebody else's suggestion that we carry on working together, because I was in a different band, and so.
So how long did it take then between creating that song and actually forming a duo?
Not long,
okay.
Probably. We saw each other like 4 times, and then they made that decision.
Mm-hmm. And then, well, your debut record, Body Music, did very well. If we look now at I Remember, the second record, would you say it was easier or tougher album to make?
It was just so different. It was that we were doing a lot of other stuff at the same time. Like when we wrote Body Music, we weren't touring heavily, but when we wrote I Remember, it was like we were touring the first album, then we were touring new songs and singles that we'd done, and then we also started to like move and share that music with America as well. So trying to get the album finished in really, really good creative time meant that we would do like a 2-week slot, like maybe in between like lots and lots of touring.
Is that difficult to keep focus on what you're writing at that point?
Not if we make the proper amount of time, but if we were to do it like at the same time as touring, like do a show, then do some writing, then do a show, then do some writing, never have happened.
And what was the starting point then? Because like say you're doing this amidst of everything else you're doing. So how does something like an album start up? Where do you start then?
Well, the first thing we did was decide we were going to write a whole album in 3 months.
Okay.
And we really set ourselves that as a goal, and we designed the studio environment to be very potent for that reason. We shut ourselves off, we got away, we went somewhere that had like nice environment and things. And then when we kind of finished that process, we sat down, we thought, well, that's great, we've got like 1 song from that.
Which song was it?
Mediator.
Okay. And then, well, you say you kind of secluded yourself and then went away from it all. Is the environment that you're in, is that important in what comes out creatively?
It is. It really kind of gives a different twist to things you do.
Okay. And you say Mediator is the first song. Where did it come from? Do you remember?
It started off as really a song that had completely different music, and then we decided we wanted to really bring some real instruments to the song. So George got a few of his friends to come to the studio and did live instruments on it. Okay. We don't come into the studio with preconceived ideas. We come into the studio to discover and explore and to experiment.
Okay. What is one thing that you've discovered about yourself and about the way you make music?
Well, I've definitely developed my lyric writing skills, whereby I can start to see and use that space as more of a cathartic space, where I can look at an issue that I have had in my life and how to get through it, how to find a way to see the positive, see the learning opportunity, and then how to apply it and follow that through the writing process, instead of creating advice for somebody else.
Right.
Going through something else real. So a lot of my other stories on Body Music were other people's real stories. They came from a real place, but it was easier to get perspective on somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what changed in between these albums, where you started to focus more on yourself and
really it's just about songwriting skill, like just developing your ability to tell a story with perspective.
Okay, and then on the record you also work with a lot of people, so did that have anything to do with it, because you did a bunch of collaborations and you see perspectives and the way other people make music?
We didn't really get to see how other people make music as such, because it was always our setup and the way we do things, and we were people would like just kind of, I don't know, see what we were doing really. But it was always nice to have like a reflection, like a bouncing off kind of person that can give some inspiration or something like that.
And you mentioned this cathartic element in the lyrics. Is there one track in particular that is close to you that has this cathartic element for you?
Yeah, certainly Mean What I Mean has that. It was really helpful, deeply helpful to me to write that song.
Can you tell me what kind of sparked that song?
It was a real life situation where I found myself in a situation where I was clearly saying no, and the person I was with was not listening to me and but more so telling me that I didn't know what I meant, and I wasn't saying what I meant. And I was like very interested in how I could find myself as an adult in that situation, and very interested in how I could not find myself there again, or what I would do if I was in that situation again. What would I need? What would my anthem be to give myself some self-protection, or at least the ability to be disgusted at the moment, you know, when somebody tries to tell me that I'm not being clear when I am being clear.
And for you yourself, going through these thought processes, and does it help, that cathartic element? Does it help understand not only yourself but kind of the world around you?
It can now, but that's just because I've been writing for so long. Okay. I think, you know, you've got to think about writing a song as like a food factory, something like that. It comes in as raw ingredients, it goes through a process, and it comes out as a, I don't know, delicious vegetarian burger. But yeah, you got to make the mechanisms work, and keep improving them, and keep, you know, knowing what kind of ingredients you need to go in to have something fully formed at the end of it.
And finally then, the album is called I Remember. There's also a track called I Remember. Why this title? Is there a certain significance to the track as well?
I think that it ties in a kind of more a way just for me psychologically, that a lot of the songs are reminders of something, mainly about there is like you have your own power to get through certain situations in your life, but you need to look at them from a few different perspectives to get there. But also you need to have joy, you need to have celebration.
Well, one more question, sorry. Because I saw something on Facebook where you said about live sets, and you mentioned joy and celebration. Now, before I go on, it's like purgatory. Can you kind of explain how?
I'm not what I would call a natural born performer, perhaps. So there's a place where before I go on stage, I can't really imagine what I'm going to do when I get up there, and I don't know how I'm going to connect with the person I am on stage and the people on stage. But I know that once I get out there, it's where everything happens. But so that middle point is like halfway between heaven and hell.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.